in the Hamptons, whatever it was. That story where he was bothering his neighbors at the nude beach. Ah, boy. But one thing about this Epstein case, now, did you know that this is the first time in the history of human trafficking cases, and this Ghislaine Maxwell lady, and all this Epstein and stuff like that we don't know the names of the client in a human trafficking case? Did you know that? The first time in history. I see that BS all the time, man. On TikTok and these reels, and people who think they know what they're talking about, and just repeating some other nonsense that they heard from some other idiot. Okay, but let me tell you something. In the majority of sex trafficking cases, we have no idea who the clients are, okay, or who these young ladies or young boys were trafficked to. The majority of them, an arrest is made because of an undercover police officer makes the approach and solicits the prostitution, and they come to an agreement, and then an arrest is made. And that's how it happens within massage parlors and escort services and on the corner and these motel operations. So it's an aberration. It's an anomaly for us to have a list of who the clients were. So that's nothing unusual with that at all. The people are just so led around by their nose with this Epstein stuff, just following and listening to whatever they hear, whatever the most popular catchphrase is of the week, and then just repeat it. Oh, because we're the good guys, we're the white hats, and we want to show everybody, we want to virtue signal that we're against sex trafficking and abuse of young kids, underage statutory rape. Okay, but that's just not the way things work in real life, guys. Okay. Now, it's been a really intense week with this cough and this flu. I've hardly left the house. I've been having groceries delivered mostly. I've just been so sick, man. And some things came up this week. And I forget what it was. But I remember when I was about 25 years old. And I was hanging out with some of the guys. And my friend Bob, who was my best man at my wedding, we knew each other since high school. And he says, "Hey, Ed, man, tell him the story about the time you got kidnapped." And I said, "What are you telling me?" I said, "Oh, that's right. I did. I was kidnapped once. I never told this story on the air." You think, just when you think you're running out, Ed Oppen's running out of stories about his crazy life, you'll find out that there's a couple more in there. I got 2 kidnapping stories, by the way. But on the other one, I'm on the other side of the ransom note, which is a lot better to be. Okay, it's a lot more comfortable position to be in. So what happened was, when we first moved to Staten Island, I'm born in November. No, my birthday is in September, which is the first month of school of the new year. So they gave my parents the choice. Do you want him to go in a year ahead or a year behind? So whatever reason, they chose a year behind. So I was always younger than everybody in my class, my whole high school. We did it the opposite way with my daughter, where she was the oldest because she's born in November. And I think that's the best way to do this, guys, especially when you get to puberty ages. Like for me, puberty ages, all the other guys in my class were checking out the girls, and I still wasn't there yet, like in 8th grade, 7th grade. So I started freshman year at McKee High School as a vocational technical school in St. George, Staten Island. And it was just the first couple of months there because I just started to wear this jacket, this dungaree jacket, which I used to like. And I'm in the class there, and I'm looking around. And we used to have these wooden, because we had wood shop and an electrical shop and all these kind of trade schools, I took auto shop, by the way, which I never used. I could fix cars, but I never worked as a mechanic or anything. So the wood shop would make these hall passes for all the different classes and the teachers. They would burn the teachers with a room number into the wood the pass and stuff like that. So I saw one of these, and I swiped it. I says, this would be handy for me to have. It's just in case I'm wandering the halls one day and I get stopped. I got to pass. Hey, look, I'm on a hall pass. I'm going to use the lavatory. Mr. Dean there. Okay. I'm one of the good kids. I'm like Eddie Haskell. My name is Eddie, too. Okay. Oh, God. So, I'm heading home with my swiped wooden hall pass. And I was still, it was unfamiliar, taking the train home and the bus home. This is new to me, So I'm walking home all by myself. I don't have any friends with me. And this car pulls up. And there's these two thugs in the car. They look like longshoremen, like stocky guys, beefy guys, laborers, and they got the wool caps on their heads. And there's an old man in the back seat. So they pull up next to me slow. And I start getting, I said, a little antsy here. What's going on here? I'm looking over at the car. And then they pull up in front of me, ahead of me. And I'm still walking toward them. And I see these two guys get out of the car. All right? Now, I don't know. I've just always had this sixth sense, this kind of instinct, this kind of street sense, about me. So the two guys come up to me really rough. And they go, are you one of the guys who just tried to steal this old lady's purse? And I said, no, what are you talking about? No way, man. You're out of your mind. I just got off the train. I'm coming home from school. But the old man in the back seat's going, that's him. That's the guy. That's the guy. I says, dude, man, look, I have nothing to do with this. I have nothing to do with this. And so they kind of believed me, because I wasn't nervous, So they start heading back to the car, and I'm walking along, and then suddenly they jump out. So I take off running as fast as I can. And I almost made it. I took a shortcut through my landlord's backyard up to the back fence of my house, and I almost got up to that fence, almost got over that fence, but no, they tackled me. Right there in the backyard, my neighbor's backyard. Take me back to the car. And they throw me in the back seat. This is a real kidnapping. I'm 13 years old. Okay. All right. My friend says, hey, remember that time you were a kid? I'm saying, no, I don't remember because it's dissociative disorder, when you have this trauma of being kidnapped at 13 and you block these things out. So they throw me in a back seat on the floor and they got their feet holding me down on the floorboard of the car, and they take me back to their house and they take me to the basement of this house. You drive into the garage, close the garage door, and they take me down to the basement. I'm no stupid, I'm a kid, but I'm not stupid. And so, these guys are going to kill me, man, because if they're just going to beat me up, they would have did it over there in the street. They're not going to beat me up. They're going to kill me. So they bring the old lady down, and she was beat up. The old lady was. She was like holding her head, the side of her head. It's amazing. I can remember these. I can envision it, right? I can tell you exactly what she was looking. She was still wearing her coat, and she was holding the side of her head. So I guess they grabbed the purse, whatever. They knocked it down on the ground. And she looks at me. She goes, that's not him. That's not him. And then the old man's going, no, that's him. That's him. And they're all yelling at each other and stuff like that. They're like Italian, yelling at each other. And finally the guy says, well, maybe it's not him. So I'm still sick, and they still might want to kill me. But the guy in charge, who was his mother that was knocked down, takes me outside, and he goes, look, it was a mistake. All you got to do is just walk down this way, and you'll be back on Annandale Road right where we picked you up. And I said, shit. Oops, excuse me. So I run home. All right? I lost my pass. I went to all that trouble to steal. And I get home. I'm all shook up, and I tell my father was home because my brother was up visiting from Puerto Rico. Okay? And my brother wasn't a tough guy. My other brother was a tough guy. My older brother, the oldest one, Rennie, he was a tough guy. And because he came from Cuba, and they moved him to this Italian neighborhood in the Bronx, and all the kids in that neighborhood, this is back in the 60s, they were all very, very racist. So he had to fight his way in and out of that neighborhood every day. And then when people would pick on my other brother, the other one, he would have to fight to defend him too. So the poor guy fought his whole life. Went to weightlifting. He gave me my Arnold Schwarzenegger weightlifting book that I learned how to lift weights from. And anyway, so my other brother, the wimpy brother, was there, the soft one, and my dad was there. And I told him, I said, hey, man, I just got kidnapped. These guys grabbed me off the street. What? And my mom, I just feel my son was kidnapped. What's going on? Right? So somehow, me and my dad got back in the car, maybe my mother too. And we got back in the car and we drove over to that house. I know right where the house is. I guess we're going to go back there and call the cops or something. But they saw us there parked out in front of the house, and the guy came out and talked to my father and talked him out of calling the police. Because my wonderful father took side with this other guy over his own son. So I realized that day that I had no home life that was going to defend me or protect me or take care of me. And I had to rely only on myself and my own wits and my own balls, okay, and my own resources that I had to fend for myself. And I think that was a very good lesson for me. I really do. Because look what I do now, I deal with a lot of very intense stuff. A lot of, even this week I was approached about some, rather large situations that I could, if I wanted to, get involved in. History-making type of things, but I'm kind of, I'm sick. I don't want to get involved in everything, And, my kids coming. I got my priorities now, my own life. I'm an elder statesman in these days. Let's call it that. So this week, I replayed an episode with Mr. Haskell and William Ramsey. I forget what the guy's name is. Kurt something Haskell. By the way, I'm not too crazy about this guy. I had him on the first time to talk about his experience with the underwear bomber. He was on the plane. He was an attorney, and he was on the plane with the underwear bomber. Kurt Richard Haskell, eyewitness to the underwear bomber. I played that show, and then I played the only other show I ever did with Kurt Richard Haskell and Mr. William Ramsey, and I titled it this time, Child Trafficking Allegations. But what it's actually about, it's the first radio show ever done about Mr. Alefantis and Comet Ping Pong and WikiLeaks emails and all that topic that has been referred to as a Italian breaded with sauce on top and cheese gate. Okay? And it's the first show ever done on that topic. And so it was going back and forth. I think it was on Twitter or something like that. I says, hey, this is the first radio show ever done on that topic. And I know it was because at the time when I did the show, they had a whole subreddit with that title that I just gave you. And I get lucky all the time. I'm lucky. I've been dancing through the raindrops. That's what they say. That's how they call it. I've been dancing through the raindrops for a long, long time. But that wasn't my only first close call with death. I could say a bunch of stories. Anyway, I'm here. Let's put it that way. Last man standing. Last man standing. So when I did that show on Alefantis, on the subreddit that was devoted to that topic, they were flipping out. They says, Ed Opperman just did a show about this topic, and he's got over 1 million viewers. So they were all excited. It was the first time anybody spoke about it on any kind of radio or podcast. Back then, it was internet radio. They didn't even have podcasts back in those days. So I mentioned on Twitter, I said, that was the first radio broadcast about that topic. And I start hearing from these characters tell me, oh, no, Ed. Oh, no. So-and-so was talking about this way before you, and this other fellow was talking about it. Trust me. Tracy Twyman was the one who brought it to Facebook the same day it all came up. Okay, and then right away, we put together a show. William was aware of it, and Mr. Haskell was aware of it. And we put together a show that same week. I know for a fact it was the first show on it. Okay? And so we went back and forth arguing about this. And so one of these super YouTube superstars was telling me that, let me tell you something. That whole situation, you have no idea what I went through, the troubles. And this is a guy, too, that I unfollowed because I was watching his public investigation on this topic. By the way, too, Not only was I the first show to do a reporting on that topic, but then I said, because everyone was so thrilled, it was getting all these hits on the YouTube channel. And I said, you know what? All these people that are so fascinated with this topic,